right, connected and hooking social up. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today from the home offices in Central Florida, Mike Piwowarski of Arms Room Radio, also of The Rundown. Mike, thanks for coming along on the ride today, man.
Always great to be here, Paul, with you and all the folks from the Second Amendment Foundation. How's your day going?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Just a little while ago, I was looking at standings, and my Twins are doing really good this year. We're up at the top of the AL Central standings. How are the Mets doing?
Number 2 in the National League East. I'll say that. Above 500, so we're comfortable where we are right now. But how about them Rays, huh? What's going on there?
Man, that's a tough team this year. They are doing exceptionally well.
I might actually watch an American League game this year, watching them play.
There you go. Oh, everybody knows American League is the real baseball anyways, so.
It's not. It's got 10 players on the field, the designated hitter. I mean, I know the National League does that now, but, I mean, what's next? A keg on second base? That's really what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, well, maybe bong hit or two when you're round third, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, let's as we get going, I want to remind everybody, if you're watching us on the Polite Society Podcast, Facebook, or YouTube feeds, go ahead and comment on those. We'll get those comments, get them up on the air. Unfortunately, Twitter still is not allowing connection. No, it's Twitter. I even tried just now. Twitter's not allowing connection of my broadcast software, so if you want to get a comment in and you're on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and comment on those videos. Otherwise, if you want to comment, it's not going to probably hit until we get the next show out. But you can email me at paul@politicsandguns.com. Mike, let's go ahead and get started. First thing off is a press release from the SAF. This is a good one. Coming from Bellevue, Washington, of course, our home offices. The hysterical reaction by Everytown for Gun Safety, the Giffords Lobbying Group, and the Brady Gun Control Group to the recent ruling by U.S. District Judge Catherine Mendez, which declared Minnesota's restriction on handgun permits only for those over the age of 21 unconstitutional, is proof these organizations are interested only in banning handgun ownership by young adults, the SAF said today. Everytown Brady and the Giffords Group all claim to support background checks and training, noted SAF Executive Vice President Alan Gottlieb. Yet they want to keep young adults who have training and can pass background checks from having guns. This is hypocritical dishonesty. Their alleged concerns are unfounded, and they know it. 2 years ago in Kansas, lawmakers overrode Governor Laura Kelly's veto of HB 2058, which creates a special concealed carry permit for young adults with training and background check requirements. So far, there have been no issues. Now, the Second Amendment Foundation has several cases in progress challenging laws that discriminate against anyone under the age of 21 where handguns are concerned. Gottlieb said this is an issue which must be addressed because young adults are considered mature enough to vote, join the military, and possibly be killed in combat, get married, sign contracts, start businesses, and even own their own homes. Yet they cannot legally purchase handguns for personal protections. The importance of Judge Menendez's decision is also highlighted by unique Minnesota factors. One, a handgun permit acts as a permit to acquire a handgun under Minnesota law. And two, the handgun permit allows an individual to carry a rifle and shotguns under specific various circumstances so as not to rely on various other exemptions. Mike, SAF has got, I think, four other than the Minnesota lawsuit. SAF has got 4 other lawsuits actively working to try and restore rights for 18 to 21-year-olds. Your thoughts on this whole thing, man?
Listen, when you're an adult you're an adult. That's it. It's 18, right? If that's the number we've assigned, and that's the number we've assigned in this country since 1789, by the way, when you go back in U.S. code and look at the militia standards, it was those over the age of 17 that were able to be adults and serve in the military. It's been that way ever since. When you're an adult, you're an adult. You should have all the rights and privileges that the government provides to you as an adult. We both know, we both know, Paul, that the banking industry and the insurance industry, they move those numbers around. But you know what? Private organizations, they get to do what they want, But as far as the government goes, 18's an adult. 18 should be it. That should be it, 18. All right, when you get to be 18, you're an adult. You should have all the rights and privileges, just like you said. You can enter into contracts. You can serve the military. You can get married. You can do whatever you want. If it's 18, it's 18. Damn it, let's get this done.
You're absolutely right. And the other, let me mute my phone here. The other part about this is doggone it. There we go. Now I got it muted. The other thing about this is they're trying to move the voting age for young people down to 16. They're trying to make, even younger than that, be able to determine a sex other than what they were born as, being able to declare that, I'm a she-it or whatever. Make sure I put enough space in between those to go past the censors. But yet they don't want people to own guns. The other things can destroy your life as well, but they don't want people to own guns. And guns can save your life rather than destroying it. So,
exactly right. Remember, the gun is the tool. It's the individual that carries out, the action. 16 to 17 for voting. Of course they want 16 to 17 for voting, because guess what? The further younger you go, the less educated you are about what really goes on in the world, about how it takes to operate, how it takes to be an adult. I'm sorry, I keep calling you Craig, but I was just on the show with Craig. Paul, what the old saying is, right? Everybody's a Democrat until they get their first mortgage payment. Then they become a Republican. And that's what you have. Those that are still under the financial umbrella of somebody else are going to always be a little bit more liberal, because it's another responsibility they don't have. They don't have to worry about the money. They don't have to worry about the consequences. And at 16 and 17, I think when you look up the manual for 16 and 17-year-olds, rule number 1 is, go against your parents, right? So here you have people that are going to vote and give up probably the most, basic right that they have and are able to exercise for spite, right? Is that what we want? We want votes for spite? Didn't we see enough votes for spite with the mean tweets? Can we get back to being serious and being adults here?
Although maybe in places like Chicago, New York City, we should allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote, because if they vote for spite against their parents, maybe we'll get something done.
True. Right. Yeah. And listen, if you're 16 and 17 in Chicago, you're already carrying a gun. So, I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. This is a Lee Williams story. I'm just going to read a little bit of what he wrote here. It's becoming increasingly difficult to tell the difference between Fox News or CNN and MSNBC, especially when the topic is guns, and especially after a mass shooting. For at least 7 years, Fox News has been citing fake mass shooting data from the Gun Violence Archive, an anti-gun nonprofit we debunked years ago, in its digital and broadcast news stories. Now, the reason is simple. The Gun Violence Archive inflates body counts sometimes by more than 1,000%, so its overblown data has become catnip for the legacy media, which is consistently seeking more sensational headlines and news stories. How does the Gun Violence Archive get its inflated numbers? And we're going to leave the story there. What the Gun Violence Archive does is, the traditional meaning of a mass shooting is any time 4 or more people, not including the people doing the killing, are victims of the shooting. 4 or more deaths. What Gun Violence Archive is, anytime 4 or more people are injured, it's a mass shooting. So that totally changes the way things work. And mass shootings, by the old definition, there have been 4 this year. The Gun Violence Archive says there's been like 130 some. So yeah, it's you change the definition, you change the rules, you get a different outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, they're in cahoots with likes of the Every Town for Gun Safety, the Crazy Moms Against Everything, the Mother Jones is another big organization out there that puts out these false, misleading gun statistics. It's just like you said, Paul. Let's say I'm a clerk at a store and the bad guys come in and there's 2 of them and I get injured and one of the bad guys gets injured. Now it's a mass shooting, is what it is. If there's 2 rival gang members. It's Sunday morning at 2 a.m. and they get in a shooting in the intersection in front of a school. Now we got a mass shooting in front of a school, Paul. They're gonna continue to skew these stats to make it be what they want them to say. They want to push their own agenda, and they're willing to lie about it every single time. This is the MO of the left. All right, let's use fear and lies to get what we want out of the public.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get it. We're starting to get some really good comments coming in. 500 Magnum, who would have thought David Hogg could actually make something good happen with his birthday? Everybody else has been donating to Firearms Policy Coalition, and despite. And let's get one up from C&T. He says, I say it all the time. People who have no problem taking a 16-year-old, putting them behind the wheel of a 3,000-pound battering ram and letting them do 70-mile-an-hour inches away from other battering rams. He followed up with car accidents are responsible for way more deaths than firearms. And that we're going to make a little bit of a right turn here, Mike. I used to say left turn, but then somebody berated me saying, you're not going left. And no, I won't go left. Yeah. So we're going to make a little bit of a right turn here, man. It's often said now that that firearms are responsible for more childhood deaths than anything else, including car accidents. And that's only true if you take children and move them up to 21 years of age. And you include inner city gang shootings in with your statistics. Then it's technically possible for firearms deaths to go more than automobile deaths. And I think what it says is more than... It says 2 things. Number 1, we do have a big inner city crime problem that's fueled by gang shootings. 2, our cars are getting a lot more safe. The older cars that are death traps are being aged out. Nobody can keep them running anymore except for classic car collectors, and they're not getting the miles on them. They're not put in these dangerous positions. Modern cars are so much more safe than what older cars were. There are fewer traffic deaths, period, and we've got a problem with gangs in our inner cities. I think that explains what's going on there.
Listen, we talked about statistics, right? These numbers are so far skewed when you look at automobile deaths versus firearms deaths. Automobile deaths are easy. Just tell me the dividing line on the ages, and that's all we need to know. We know that it's roughly between 20 and 25,000 a year that we're going to lose in motor vehicle accidents. And we know when you look into the actual statistics and not just blindly follow, the Violence Center or the Mother Jones or Mad Moms or whatever they are. If you don't follow them and you look at the actual statistics of gun violence deaths, the number is less than 2,000 per year of actual innocent victims being killed by somebody with a firearm. All right, it does. You can immediately wipe out things like suicides or accidental shootings or police shootings, or known gang violence shootings, gang member versus gang member. you get down to that number under 2,000 per year. That's realistic. I mean, Paul, if they wanted to do this with automobile deaths, we would be looking at, they would say, oh, it's less than 2,000 per year for kids under 16 involving alcohol. That's how far down they want to delve into gun violence deaths. Actual innocent victims involved is less than 2,000 per year for firearms deaths.
Yeah, absolutely. CNT reminds us the stats for school shooting, include a shot fired in a school zone at 3 a.m. Not necessarily at the school, exactly, but in a school zone, which extends almost a half mile out from the school.
Yeah. Yep.
And he also reminds, just make 3 lefts, and you got it right. Well, if they're all 90-degree corners.
I said that yesterday. I got asked, do 2 wrongs make a right? And I said, no, but 3 lefts do.
There you go. Again, you got it. As long as those are 90-degree lefts, if your left turn is less than 90 degrees, if it's only a 45-degree, 3 lefts gets you a U-turn. So
that's right. And if you're stuck in a traffic circle, you're on your own.
All right. Let's see here. We got to give out a little bit of bad news today. This one coming off Bearing Arms. This is a Cam Edwards story. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed 2 pieces of gun control into law on Thursday, with another bill to establish red flag firearm seizure law likely to be approved by the state legislature as early as this afternoon. Surrounded by anti-gun activists and lawmakers, Whitmer declared the measures to be common sense gun policy. Senator Rosemary Bayer, a Democrat out of Keego Harbor, let a scream out of finally when taking to the lectern to speak prior to the bill signing. She'd been one of the driving forces behind the safe storage legislation following the shooting at Oxford High School in 2021. Apologizing to advocates for the wait and for further shootings that had occurred since Oxford, Bayer promised the actions on Thursday were just the first step. On this one, I think you and I specifically have talked about this before, Mike. None of this is prompted by shootings in schools or anywhere else. This is just the first time that Democrats got control of the legislature in Michigan. This was going to happen if nobody had ever been shot anywhere in the country. This was going to happen.
Yeah, you're right. And we saw this in in Virginia and North Carolina 2 and 4 years ago. The same thing when they finally grabbed the House and then moved around and started passing all these gun control laws. And now we see that the reversal of those going on here a couple of years later. Michigan, they could look at the Nashville shooting. The dates kind of coincide, but you're absolutely right. This was just them finally getting their wet dreams of legislation through. Now that they control the legislature. First off, Paul, I'm tired of this whole the common sense gun reform. What the gun reform common sense. I'm all for common sense politician policy reform is what I'm going to call it. Do you remember back in the watching movies and TV shows back in the old day, Craig or Paul, and somebody would come in and say something ridiculous and you'd slap them in the face and they would go, "Oh man, thanks, I needed that." I think that's what I want. I want politician policy reform, common sense. When they come in and say something stupid, I get to slap them in the face, and then they say, "Oh, what was I thinking? I'm sorry about that. Yeah, you're right. Let's go. Let's get this done the right way."
Well, and the next step after slapping in the face, if that didn't work, was the big old banana cream pie. We need lots of banana cream pies in state houses all throughout the nation.
You know what, Paul? Just so I don't get seen as a violent person, I'm going to drop my position here on common sense slap reform, and I'm going to strictly push now for a banana cream pie reform with these policies.
I like it. I'm on board with you, man. I'm absolutely on board with you. Let me get one more comment in here. CNT says, if your answer to a problem is more government control, you lose your rights to mention common sense.
Thank you. Excellent. Yep.
And he also says, I'm all for common sense politician control, a.k.a. tar and feathering.
There
we
we
haven't
go.
done that
There we
in a
go.
long time.
Well, look at our good friends down there in VCDL, the Virginia Citizens Defense League. Remember when they wanted to go do their annual march on the Capitol, and they were told that they couldn't bring their firearms because of a new special exclusionary zone. So they left it home, left their firearms outside the exclusionary zone. I believe the estimate was 8,000 people inside the exclusionary zone that were unarmed, 8,000 outside that were armed. So what did the people inside do? They brought a life-scale guillotine machine and put it right against the Capitol steps. Listen, firearms make a mighty big statement, but a guillotine in front of the Capitol building, oh, that's like saying tar and feather, and that's a pretty big statement right there.
That absolutely is. And yeah, Paul Vallone with VCDL, man, what a fantastic advocate for our rights.
Yes.
Let's get a comment from Pete over at Gun Websites. I don't think we have enough bananas.
Yeah.
We could always do what the rest of the world is saying. We could always go take over some place like Panama, Venezuela, and then we could nationalize the banana production. So, yeah.
Well, there goes my plan to get rich with insider banana trading.
C&T, I'm going to run for office. My campaign slogan will be bring back tar and feathers. You got my vote, dude. You got my vote.
Just remember, though, past the year 2032, it's going to have to be electric tar. We can't use oil-based tar anymore.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, we're going way off the rails here. Simon says, Train, hey, Tony, pass out high fives to the face.
With chairs.
Yeah. Cage match. Cage match for the passage of legislation. I like it.
There you go.
Let's get some. We got some good legislative news coming though too. Next one coming out of Iowa. This is off of DesMoinesRegister.com. Believe it or not, I'm going to read some of this, but the entire article is very anti-rights and absolutely anti-gun. But let me get some of the article in here. Iowans could keep their guns in their locked cars in the parking lots of schools, city and county buildings, state universities, and prisons under a bill passed Wednesday by the Iowa House. Lawmakers approved House File 654 on a vote of 62 to 37 after 2 hours of emotional debate. Most Republican voted yes except for two. The bill still must pass the Senate before it can become law. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. The entire rest of the article is more of a how insane is this kind of a tone. But you know what, Mike? If you cannot go into a government building, why the hell can't you leave your firearm in your locked vehicle outside? If you're going to pick up your kids at public school, why the hell can't you have your firearm in your car, for example, in a holster on your body when you go to do it?
Yep. This is an excellent step, like we talk about, Paul, getting back our fundamental rights, our Second Amendment rights, our constitutional, enumerated, God-given rights, right? What do we want? We want what you just said. We want to be able to carry our firearm wherever we want to without a permit, because that's my right to do so to protect myself and my family. They clearly banned carrying a firearm in an automobile. They clearly banned carrying a firearm on government property. So what's the next step? What's the first step to getting things back? Let's take a bite of that elephant one bite at a time. We can't eat it all at the first sitting. So the first bite is, now I can have it in my automobile. Now, Paul, you're going to hear a lot of people say, oh, it's unsafe to have it in your automobile. Well, you know what's unsafe? Don't be a burglar. Don't commit a felony and break into my car. All right? Am I for keeping firearms out of the hands of children? Of course I am, right? But you know what I'm also for? Not having felons break into my car. All right? Am I going to keep my firearms secure when I'm not in possession of them or using them? Of course I am around my house, around my children. But I should also be able to do what I want with my firearms, like have them on me. But short of having them on me, this is the next best step in Iowa. If I can't go into the post office or I can't go into the government building to conduct government business, why should I have to leave it home and not have it the entire day with me? So being able to lock it in the car is the next best step. And don't worry, We know how people in Iowa work. We know how our government works there. They'll continue to build on that, okay? Whether that's get rid of restricting it in government places or allowing us to carry firearms without permits where we want to, they will continue to build on that like everybody else is doing around the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And Iowa, from where I sit, Iowa's about 7 miles that away. So good on Iowa. And I'm hoping this clears the Senate. I'm hoping it becomes law. This really is common sense gun law is what this is. True common sense gun law would be, carry it where you carry it. But
right?
Yeah. CNT says here we go. I wear my gun when I pick up my kid. Yeah, and you're going to pick up. I've said this a million times. Children are our very most valuable asset. Why are we not protecting it the same way we do our other powerful assets? People like the president, things like the gold reserve at Fort Knox, if there is one.
No, Paul, because we have a sign that says we can't have a gun there, so the bad guys are going to pay attention to that. We have an imaginary line on the ground that says no violence on the other side of this line, and that's the kind of common sense they want. Not the common sense that this law brings, that says rather than have to leave my firearm home the entire day, I could secure it in my vehicle for the few moments I'm not having it on me because I'm going into a restricted area. That's common sense.
Yeah. Anyway, we are getting down towards the bottom of the hour, man. We need to start the process of getting this thing wrapped up. Tell everybody, if you would, about Arms Room Radio. Tell them about the rundown. How was your show just about an hour ago?
Listen, rundown's going great. I got to admit, I've missed a couple of days the past few weeks. It's just been a very, very hectic schedule. Craig does a great job there without me. I mean, it's not as good as the product when I'm there, obviously, but we give him a little pat on the back for making the effort. It's a great show. Watch it either way. You can catch it now, 6 p.m. Eastern time is when it now airs. That way it lined up a little bit better with some of the live broadcasts, the feeds that we put it out on. And then, of course, Arms Room Radio has been out in its 9th year. I can't believe it's been 9 years. 9 years now, Saturdays, live, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern. If you go to armsroomradio.com, you can listen to it live there, or it's on in over 25 cities around the country. And if it's not on the real, actual radio in your town, go to armsroomradio.com and let us know, and we'll see what we can do. And if you got a hook up in your town, let us know. We'll talk to those radio folks for you.
Well, and you yourself, call your program director for your favorite radio station and in your local town and say, hey, look, there's this great show called Arms Room Radio. I'd love for you to carry it. That carries more weight than Mike calling them. Yeah,
and listen, it doesn't have to be live. There's plenty of markets we're on at Tuesday night at 10 in the evening.
And 9 years doing that, huh? Almost as good
9 years.
Almost as good as the 11 years Polite Society podcast has been cranked along.
Almost as good. We got about half the quality of the product, so I figure we need another 9 years to catch up, right?
There you go. All right, man. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us today. We're going to shut it down about a minute early, but I want to remind everybody tomorrow is Trading Friday. Tom Walls is going to be here. One of the topics we got is if you're carrying and you've just started carrying, who needs to know that you're going around in public armed? Who does, who doesn't, all that good stuff. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. Until then, everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.